Revivalists, how's it going? Simon here from CD Revival, and today I'm going to do my ranking of one of the all-time great rock bands, and that is Led Zeppelin. Formed in the late 60s out of the ashes of the Yardbirds. They started off as the New Yardbirds. I think they did maybe 1 or 2 gigs as them, and then obviously renamed themselves to Led Zeppelin as we know them. Robert Plant on vocals, Jimmy Page guitars, John Paul Jones bass and multi-instrumentalist, and then John Bonham, R.I.P. on drums. All superb musicians, all at the top of their game. Bonham in particular, one of the all-time, probably if not the greatest drummer of all time. And they've done some fantastic albums. It's quite a difficult ranking because I've listened to Zeppelin like a lot over the years, just a lot. So I've listened to them all extensively, and yeah, this is my ranking of them. And these are my favourite albums. I'm not saying that this one is definitively the best, and and that's it. These are, like I say, these are the ones that I prefer. So I'm not influenced by what other people think should be the best, or what critics say is the best, or what I feel. Oh, maybe this should be the best one. This is what I like, the best basically. So my number one's my favourite album, and the least favourite's my least favourite. So just bear that in mind. I'm sure everyone's got different opinions. Say they've got a lot of different albums and different styles and what have you, so all very influential. So don't forget to click subscribe to my channel and click like if you like the video as well, and then we'll get on with the ranking. Cool. So my number 9, so they've done 9 albums including the album Coda, which I am going to include in the ranking. So yeah, my number 9 is their 8th album, which is In Through the Outdoor. Mainly Page and mainly Plant and John Paul Jones sort of did the music for this album, really. So it's their last album before John Bonham died, so it's the last proper Led Zeppelin album, if you like. And it came out in 1979, and yeah, it's the only one that I'm not in love with, basically. It's an okay album. I'd like it a bit more than I once did. In the Evening's quite standard sort of Zeppelin fare, but still not their best. Southbound Sores was okay. Fall in the Rain, not a great fan of that at all. It's got a bit of a samba feel to it. It's an odd sort of track, quite piano led. Hot Dog, just a hoedown, nothing inoffensive about it. Carousel Alhambra is an interesting one, a long track, very keyboard led. Not a great fan of that. I do quite like it when it basically turns into the Miami Vice theme sort of about 2/3 of the way through, which is kind of cool. All My Love, I don't really like that. That was written to, I can admire the sentiment. It was written by Robert Plant as a sort of tribute to his son who died. And then I'm Gonna Crawl is the last one, which is a sort of bluesy affair, but it's not as good as some of their other ones. So yeah, not in love with this album. It's quite a novel cover when it came out. You can see on there the bit that's sort of whited out. That was originally like those paintings where if you went over it with water, it sort of coloured it in, basically. And I think it had a brown envelope sleeve on the original vinyl. So good packaging, but not for me at all their best album. Don't really like it that much, to be honest with you. It's certainly the one I've listened to least. The number 8 one is Coda, which came out 3 years after they split up. So this one came out in 1982, so technically their 9th album. And yeah, this one's quite good. It's a lot of outtakes from other albums, basically, so unreleased stuff, and some pretty good stuff on here. It's got the We're Gonna Groove and I Can't Quit You Baby are both live tracks. I think I Can't Quit You Baby obviously was on their first album, and this is like a rehearsal version of it, if you like. So a sound check, sorry, with the crowd sound taken out. And then obviously I Can't Quit You is a great track. Water's Walk, I think, is an outtake from Houses of the Holy. Poor Tom, I think, was from the Led Zeppelin 3 sessions. And interestingly, you got Ozone Baby, Darlene, and Wearing and Tearing, which were sort of written for In Through the Outdoor. And all three of those tracks are better than anything that's on In Through the Outdoor for me. So especially Ozone Baby, I really do like that track. Wearing and Tearing's pretty cool, good heavy track. It's also got Bonzo's Montreux on it as well, which is a really cool drum-led sort of track, really. Not quite a drum solo in the way that sort of Moby Dick was, but it's a pretty cool track with a few effects on it thrown on by Jimmy Page as well. And yeah, it's an enjoyable listen. So yeah, really enjoyed Coda. It's only half an hour or so long, only 8 tracks on there, but yeah, it's a better last album than In Through the Outdoor would have been, if you know what I mean. So yeah, well worth checking out. An enjoyable album, definitely. There's another expanded edition of this as well, which I obviously don't have, but that's got a few more unreleased tracks on it as well, so that's pretty cool. Number 7, I have got their 7th album, Presence, and that's from 1976. Interesting album. I do all of these now. I really love. I think they're all amazing albums. This one was recorded. I think Robert Plant was recovering from a car accident. So I think he'd broken his arm, maybe leg. I'm not sure. But either way, he was in recuperation. This one's a bit more back to basics, a bit more sort of, there's no like keyboards on this and very little acoustic guitar. I think just a bit of backing on one of the tracks, and some really cool stuff on here. First track, Achilles' Last Stanza, 10 minutes, sort of, yeah, really good, excellent track. For Your Life's really cool. Royal Orleans, excellent. Nobody's Fault But Mine, yeah, is really, really cool. Candy Store Rock's probably my least favourite on here. Hot Song For Nowhere and T for One. T for One's a really cool bluesy track, very similar to Since I've Been Loving You, actually. And the famous sort of cover with the various pictures of people gathered around this, the object as it is called, which is like a sort of mini monolith thing, which is supposedly represents the band. So yeah, there's various pictures of, you know, people with this item, the object as it is called. Yeah, just a whole bunch of them inside. So yeah, pretty cool concept in a way. But yeah, really like the album. Took a little while to grow on me, but it's got some great tracks on it. So it's quite a rocking, back to basics, sort of almost no frills album, but very enjoyable. Produced by Jimmy Page, and yeah, apparently they knocked this out in, I don't know, 18 days or something once they started recording it. So yeah, very good album, and that's Presence, my number 7 from 76. Say this is where it starts getting difficult, because all of these now are just like fantastic albums. I've had to go for number 6. I've had to go for their debut album, Led Zeppelin, from 1969. This one came out, I think, the 12th of January in 1969. Very bluesy, very sort of straight up rock and roll, but yeah, awesome album. Quite a few like covers which were, you know, disputed covers at the time. Jimmy Page, the cheeky monkey, he's like, you know, said that he, you know, completely written them when they were not written by him at all. Dazed and Confused being one of the key examples, but still great track. Good Times, Bad Times, Babe I'm Gonna Leave You, You Shook Me, which is a cover as well. I Can't Quit You Baby, which we've already discussed, which was on Coda as well. The instrumental Black Mountainside, that's a rearrangement of an original track, if you like. Your Time Is Gonna Come is a really cool one. Communication Breakdown, loads of classics on it. It's a stunning album, really. You know, plagiarism or not, it's well worth a listen. And yeah, just an awesome debut album. You can't really fault it at all. Excellent sound, great musicianship, superb album. So that's my number 6, and that's their first album from 1969. The second album that came out in 1969 is my number 5, and that is Led Zeppelin 2. And that came out in October, I think, 31st, I think maybe the 22nd in America. Once again, stunning album, you know, to have it at number 5 is, you know, almost sacrilege, but they've done so many fantastic albums that, you know, some things have to be lower than others. The reason, once again, why I've got this lower down than some of the others is because I prefer them. This one is just a little bit more basic, there's a little bit less going on, but still, you know, a stunning album. Obviously the classic Whole Lot of Love to start off with. What Is and What Should Never Be, I think, was the first sort of writing credit that Robert Plant had. Lemon Song, which is another cover version, rearrangement if you like. But yeah, it's so many stunning tracks on there, things like Heartbreaker, Living Loving Maid, Ramble On. Just, yeah, those 3, you know, in a row are just all absolutely superb. So many great riffs from Jimmy Page. You've got Moby Dick, which is the drum-led, sort of almost drum solo-y sort of song. Bring It On Home, and superb. Like, once again, the riffs on here are just amazing, man. It's just an amazing album, Led Zeppelin 2. Really, really is absolutely superb, and should definitely be in your collection. Even though it's only my number 5, there's 4 albums that I prefer to this one. But yeah, still fantastic album, Led Zeppelin 2. My number 4, I have got their 4th album, sometimes called Led Zeppelin 4, sometimes called 4 Symbols. It's generally untitled. I think Jimmy Page just refers to it as the 4th album. Once again, having this at number 4, this would be a lot of people's number 1. It's their most famous album. It's got their most famous song, Stairway to Heaven, on it. And once again, stunning album. Starts off with Black Dog, rock and roll, so 2 like really awesome like rock and roll tracks to start it off with. Drum sound on it is amazing, productions on it is amazing, and it got your Battle of Evermore, which is like a mandolin led track, so that's really cool as well. Then you've got Stairway to Heaven, which everyone knows, don't need to talk too much about that. Misty Mountain Hop, which is a really cool track. 4 Sticks, which is another really good one. Going to California, sort of pace drops a little bit, and then you've got When the Levee Breaks at the end, which is a sort of a rearrangement of an older track, but with that awesome John Bonham like drum intro, which has been sampled here and there to great effect. And yeah, you can't really fault this album. Once again, it's just a superb album, super famous for a reason. All the classics on here. I think it's probably the first Zeppelin album that I heard. So I was only, well, when this came out, when did this come out? 1971. So yeah, I was born the year after this came out. So, but yeah, this is obviously the the famous one. So it's the first one you pick up when you're sort of getting into a new band, I suppose, of this ilk. Iconic cover, was recreated on a postage stamp back in the day. But yeah, awesome album. Led Zeppelin 4, only my number 4. That's my 4th favourite Zeppelin album. I think there's 3 better. So my number 3 is Led Zeppelin 3, which you either like or you don't like. This is their 3rd album, obviously, came out in 1970, and had a different sound on this one completely. This is where they basically changed from just sort of straight up rock into what they became, which was a lot more nuanced, a lot more different sort of styles. There's a lot of folky and acoustic sort of stuff on here. Obviously not Immigrant Song, which starts off, which is really heavy. Friends is a interesting track, really cool, with a sort of like Eastern drone about it. Celebration Days, another up-tempo one. And then you've got Since I've Been Loving You, which I think is one of theirs, certainly in my top 5 tracks of theirs. It's their best sort of blues kind of track. Superb like guitar solo and just amazing guitar playing by Jimmy Page. It's just a fabulous song. Since I've Been Loving You, really love that one. Out on the Tiles is another up-tempo one. Gallows Pole gallops along. Tangerines, pretty mellow. That's the Way is another. It's just a beautiful track, man. It's just a really lovely, like, acoustic led, just wonderful guitar work in it. Bronny or Stomp, that's another just up tempo but acoustic led track. fantastic. It just see how good an acoustic guitar player Jimmy Page is. It's just absolutely superb. Just yeah, I love that track. And finishes off with Hats Off to Roy Harper, which is a weird sort of Delta blues style. Yeah, it's when I first had this, I had it on cassette, and I thought my tape had gone wrong because obviously Robert Plant's vocals on it sort of phase. And you know, if you're too young to remember cassettes, then you won't know about that. But yeah, the sound of cassette going wrong is a thing that you remember. And I thought, oh, hang on, has my tape gone wrong? Is there something wrong with the cassette here? But it's just the way it's recorded. But anyway, yeah, Led Zeppelin 3. Maybe some people wouldn't have it this high, but I absolutely love this album. I think it's just superb. Great mix of styles. You've got heavier stuff on here, you've got like the acoustic stuff, but even the acoustic stuff I think is quite heavy in its own way. The original vinyl version had this, like, and it had like these holes here, and you had a disc that span round so that showed different pictures and all the rest of it, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, love this album. Led Zeppelin 3 is my third favourite album. Did think about having it as number 1, quite honestly, but yeah, it's my number 3, so I love it. My number 2, Houses of the Holy. It's their 5th album from 1973. Once again, it's, you know, people have different opinions on this one. Obviously I think it's fantastic, so that's why it's my number 2. Probably the album that I've listened to the most, maybe, of theirs. But yeah, some of my favourite songs on here. Starts off with The Song Remains the Same, which is an absolute gallop, just a real powerful, heavy song. And then the number 2 is The Rain Song, which is probably my favourite Zeppelin song of all time. It's just absolute perfection, just an amazing track. The way it sort of heavies up at the end, it's just amazing. The Rain Song is an amazing song. It's one of the best songs by any band of all time. Over the Hills and Far Away is a cool, like, starts off sort of acoustic-y and then picks up, and yeah, it's a really cool track. Then you've got The Crunch, which is an interesting one. John Bonham, I think, wrote that one, which is yeah, just an offbeat, like, really weird kind of like funky sort of song, with Robert Plant doing his best James Brown impression on there. Probably the weakest track on here, quite honestly, but it's still pretty cool. Dancing Days is yeah, really cool, like swingy kind of interesting track with interesting sounds on it. You've got Jamaica, which is a reggae song basically, and yeah, it gets a little bit of stick, but I think it's a really enjoyable track to listen to. Once again, the drumming on there is just insane, really amazing drumming by Bonzo. No Quarter, fantastic track, once again, probably in my top 5 Zeppelin tracks of all time. Absolutely stunning track, No Quarter, just a really, yeah, just an amazing, like, psychedelic but heavy at the same time track. I think Tool have covered that live actually. And then finishes off with The Ocean, which is just a straight up rock and roll. Once again, been sampled famously on She's Crafty by the Beastie Boys, the guitar riff on that. Really cool song, like cool, like a cappella breakdown in the middle, and then the way that kicks back in, and then finishes off like with a sort of doo-wop ending. Is, yeah, just, you know, genius really. But yeah, amazing album. That's why it's my number 2, and that's Houses of the Holy from 1973, their 5th album. So it only leaves one for number 1. So like I said that quite a lot, which is kind of a stupid thing to say. But anyway, Physical Graffiti from 1975, 6th album. Their only double album. This comes on 2 CDs as well, and it is amazing. It is an amazing album. It's one of the finest albums of all time, easily in my top 5 albums of all time. Stunning. Custard Pie, really cool, rocky opener. The Rover keeps it going, and then you've got In My Time of Dying, which is 11 minutes of sort of like slide guitar blues. Bonzo absolutely beats the shit out of his drum kit, like someone's like fucking keyed his car before he went to record the drums or something. Sounds absolutely fury, just batters it, man. It's just like an amazing track. Houses of the Holy, which was originally recorded in the Houses of the Holy time, but They thought it sounded a bit too much like Dancing Days, so they left it off that album and put it on here. But it's cool. It's probably better than Dancing Days if I'm being honest. But Trampled Underfoot, really cool up-tempo one. Probably one of my least favourite ones, certainly on side one. And then finishes off with the 8.5 minute Kashmir. Don't really need to say much more about that. Eastern influenced, just a super, like, majestic track. It's just amazing. Disc 2 starts off with In the Light, which is another longish one, nearly 9 minutes actually on that one. But yeah, really cool. Starts off with a real mystical kind of start, and then it's just a really cool one. Bronny Ore, which is a mellower one, Down by the Seaside. That's pretty chilled out as well. Do like that. 10 Years Gone is fantastic, amazing. Night Flight, that's really amazing as well. You got the Wanton song, which is just an amazing quality riff on that one. One of Jimmy Page's finest riffs. Boogie with Stu, which is a little bit of a throwaway. Black Country Woman, which is superb once again, and it finishes up with Sick Again, which is another one of their heaviest tracks, and just absolutely insane guitar work from Jimmy Page. Just a flawless album. This is so enjoyable to listen to, this one, and it's head and shoulders above anything else they've done, in my opinion. I think it's got the most stuff on it, and you can just like literally listen to it and then start listening to it all over again. It's a stunning album. Say one of the best albums of all time by any band ever. So that's my number one, Physical Graffiti, and that's their 6th album from 1975. A couple of other bits of theirs which I've picked up. I got this one, which is the Mothership. This is the 2-disc plus DVD edition. I literally got it for the DVD because it's just a greatest hits kind of thing. But yeah, still pretty cool. So yeah, you just basically got the greatest hits on there, from going all the way up to stuff like All My Love and that, from In Through the Outdoor. So it goes through all the albums pretty much in order as well. And then you've got, say, a DVD with 20 tracks on there, which is, loads of really cool stuff. So got that one just because of the DVD, really. And this one, How the West Was Won, which is a 3 CD like live extravaganza. Once again, this is well worth having. 1972 performances. So yeah, 3 CDs of that. So this was pretty much from the just before Houses of Holy came out, I guess. It's got the Ocean on here, so they were doing that, and Dancing Days as well. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff. It's got like a 23-minute version of Whole Lot of Love, 25-minute version of Dazed and Confused. Moby Dick goes on for 19 minutes, so yeah, lots of extended versions of their famous tracks. 9.5 minutes of Stairway to Heaven. So yeah, well worth getting. Really cool. Zeppelin in their prime, they would do like a 3-hour show, 3-4 hour show. And yeah, sadly missed, really. Shame that they kept it short and sweet, really, but they've left a hell of a legacy, and definitely rightly seen as one of the pioneering and best loved, like, rock and roll / metal / whatever bands of all time. So yeah, that's my Led Zeppelin ranking. My next video will probably be like cleaning up the rest of the L's, which I've got a fair few as well of those. And then we'll be on to M, which I've said in previous videos, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to go through, like Motorhead, Metallica, Megadeth, Marilyn Manson, etc, etc. So I'll be doing rankings for all of those as well. So once again, make sure you subscribe to the video. Please click like if you like the video, and leave any comments down below what you think is your favourite Zeppelin album. I'd be interested to hear what you think and why. That's cool. Have a great weekend, everyone. You take it steady. Thanks for watching. Cheers.